Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to be back with you after a few weeks that I was away from United Hebrew. And as you might tell, I happen to be solo on the bima this evening, which means I get to do the singing as well. And I like to often say, I use a quote by my mom, and I know she's watching, and whether she wants me to share it, I'm going to share it anyways. She once said that I have a good choir voice. And what she meant by that was that I could sing with other people, but if I had to sing on my own, well, that gets a little bit more challenging. So this evening, as we join together, whether you're here in person or joining us through the magic of the internet, I want you to please get into the spirit of Shabbat. Sing and celebrate with me, sing out loud. That way it'll be a better experience for all of us. And so, with that in mind, we welcome in Shabbat with song on page 142, beginning with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malechei Hasharet, Malechei Elyon, Mi Melech Malechei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon, Mi Melech Malechei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni l'shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon, Mi Melech Malechei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitem l'shalom, Malechei HaShalom, Malechei Elyon, Mi Melech Malechei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it is so wonderful to welcome in Shabbat this evening. And I think I already mentioned, I want you to sing along. One of the things that I remembered our accompanist mentioning, David Cohen, saying, what we made sure to do was pick songs that you all knew to make sure that you could sing along with us. And so I'm pretty sure you knew that one. And I'm pretty sure you'll know the next few that we'll do. But again, it's just so wonderful to be together for another Shabbat. For me to be back, and we begin our Shabbat service as we do most weeks, as we do every week really, with lighting our Shabbat candles and blessing Shabbat with the Kiddush. And so we turn back now to page 120 for our blessing for the Shabbat candles. Again, if you're joining us in person, you may have two versions of your book out there. You have the larger one like we have, which only has one page number. But if you're using this thinner book, you want to look at the larger page numbers in blue. So page 120. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. And we join together in our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, who sanctifies us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. As we now move to bless the Shabbat, the holiness of Shabbat with our Kiddush, I invite you to rise, please. As Cantor likes to say, this is us lifting us up to a higher state of being. And so we join together in our Kiddush on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikraye kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. Please be seated. Three and a half weeks ago, on June 21st, I landed at Ben Gurion International Airport outside of Tel Aviv for what would be my fifth trip to the land of Israel. Every time, there's a mix of emotions as I get ready for that flight. Plenty of good, the anticipation for the trip, the gratitude that I get to go to Israel, and excitement at traveling to another country. but also some not so good. All the typical fears that can go along with traveling. Did I remember to pack everything? Do I have my passport? Do I know where I'm going, who I'm meeting, and how I'm getting there once I land? It can be overwhelming. But every time, as the plane lands in Israel, I can feel this big sigh of relief, a moment of comfort and calm, because I know, I can feel it. In Israel, I have this deep sense of belonging, a belonging to the land, a belonging amongst the people, a belonging in the only Jewish state in existence. It happens every single time without fail. I love it. I love that moment. But this time, my 5th trip, I wasn't going just for myself. I was helping to lead 29 Jewish high schoolers from the Midwest, most of whom were visiting Israel for their very first time. Now, some of you may be thinking, oof, supervising 29 16-year-olds sounds a little rough. But I was doubly lucky and so appreciative that this time, that Israel-bound, the trip I went along with, which was run by the St. Louis Jewish Federation, they had received a grant to bring along 2 rabbis on the trip to simply be faculty. So I was certainly there to help, but I could really focus on helping build the sense of community, teaching amazing things about Israel, and encouraging the teens to explore their Jewish identities, rather than, making sure they stayed in their room at night. And I was ultimately so excited to see Israel through their eyes, through the eyes of a 16-year-old. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to experience those first moments, the joys of landing in Israel with them, because I was actually joining them for the second half of their trip, the second half of their 3 weeks in Israel. Rabbi Lori Levine from Sher Emeth was serving on faculty for the first week and a half. From what I heard, though, that first week that they had in Israel was amazing. They went hiking in the Negev, sandboarding down sand dunes, snorkeling in a lot, celebrating Shabbat with Kibbutz Keturah, making a first trip to Jerusalem, visiting the city of David and the Western Wall, exploring Yad Vashem, camping in the Judean desert, climbing Masada, and floating in the Dead Sea. Truly amazing, but also exhausting. When I arrived on day 10 and met up with the group in the north at the Kinneret in the Sea of Galilee, the teens were beat. They were dead tired. And it didn't help that a nasty stomach bug was making its way through the group. 7 of them threw up on the morning that they were supposed to climb Masada. Not a fun experience. And in that moment, for the teens and the leaders of the trip, Israel had lost its luster. Yes, they had done amazing things, and they lit up when they talked about it. And of course, there are amazing things still to come. But again, in that moment, for them, Israel had become just another country, just another vacation, just another place that for them wasn't really home. And for the next day and a half, we alternated between complaining about the food and learning the amazing story of Eli Cohen, a master spy, complaining about the hotels and rafting down the gorgeous Upper Jordan River, complaining about anything, everything, and also experiencing the frustration of trying to find one's way in a foreign country with a foreign, even if familiar, language. At times, again, it was not fun. But here's the thing. What this trip went through and what these teens learned is an important lesson that many trips, certainly shorter trips to Israel, miss. That in addition to being filled with history and beauty, in addition to being the land of our ancestors, in addition to being the Jewish national home, the only Jewish state in the world, and the first moment of Jewish sovereignty in over 2,000 years, Israel is just another country, like our own and like any other. In those few days, they started to see that, yes, there's poverty in Israel. There are problems with her healthcare system. There's political, religious, and social division, just like any other country, not to mention any other vibrant democracy. They learned that Israel is not perfect, but neither should we expect her to be. Because Israelis, human beings, are not perfect, but neither should we expect them to be. An important truth, and one that actually makes Israel and Judaism all the more beautiful. Because then day 12 came. Shabbat. I'll tell you what, I love Shabbat. It's always wonderful, but I've not needed a Shabbat like that in a long time. And those teens really needed Shabbat. Maybe for the first time in their lives, they experienced a true Shabbat and the potential of our holy day, our weekly day of rest. That Friday night, we did a version of Kabbalat Shabbat services on the Kinneret with just us, just the group, where we sang familiar songs and prayers. We shared the things that we were leaving behind in the tough week we had just had. And we shared and refocused on those things for which we were most grateful and those things we were most looking forward to in the week ahead. Then on Saturday, we rested. We really rested. The teens had the opportunity to sleep, play games, and just talk to one another, getting to know each other a little bit better. They'd only known each other for about 13 days at that point. Come Havdalah, it was a turning point. They were re-energized, and although they still saw the negatives, they could see their trip in Israel for the wonderful place and the wonderful opportunity that it is, holding the negatives but focusing on the positives. For when we take the time to truly make Shabbat a reality, a special day, a holy day of rest, we can see how much our outlook on life, our interpersonal relationships, and life in general can truly improve. And from there, the trip kept getting better. They rappelled down Dalton Cliff, visited the grottos and sea caves of Rosh HaNikra, cruised the Sea of Galilee, played at Aqua Kef, surfed in Haifa, learned about the Baha'i Gardens and the Ahmadiyya Mosque, explored Tel Aviv and the ancient port city of Jaffa, volunteered with Leket Israel, visited Machon Ayalon, Israel's secret munitions factory. They discovered the Shimon Peres Center for Peace and Innovation, and took a geopolitical tour of the security barrier, Checkpoint 300, and Gilo neighborhood, all before spending one final Shabbat in our most holy city, Jerusalem. Throughout all of these activities, the teens were interested and engaged, curious and willing to try new things. They asked excellent, thoughtful questions, attempting to understand the nuanced complexities of Israeli society and life, while finding pieces to which they, as American teens and American Jews, could relate. A big piece of this deepening connection was getting to know actual Israelis. The group spent 3 days traveling with 14 Israeli teens from our partnership region, Yokneam, Megiddo. It was awkward at first, and neither group seemed particularly excited about it, until they actually finally started talking to one another. And when they did, they saw each other, not as Israelis and Americans, but just as teens, and even more as fellow Jews, with far more in common than they had differences. As a result, our teens began to understand both that Israelis are just normal people trying to live their lives, and they saw the special role that Israel can play for Jews all around the world. At the end of our trip, on our final night, we sat in a big circle in the beautiful Ne'ot Kedumim Park, and everyone shared their favorite moment, their favorite part of the trip, something that they would be taking back with them to the States. As we went around, with them being 16-year-olds, I expected most of them to mention the more fun activities we did, rather than the more educational and, well, more Jewish things we did. But I was amazed that most of them, really almost all of them, for either their favorite part or what they were taking back, and sometimes both, mentioned moments deeply related to their Jewish identities. Whether it was standing at the Western Wall for the very first time, or volunteering with Leket Israel, helping feed the hungry, visiting Yad Vashem to remember the Holocaust, or celebrating Shabbat in the Holy Land. Learning about the sacrifices that people made to create and build the Jewish state, or, as many of them mentioned, simply meeting and getting to know those Israeli teens. Those teens who they knew would soon be joining the IDF themselves, and helping to keep Israel safe for her citizens and, again, for Jews all around the world. I love Judaism. I love Israel. I love Jewish peoplehood, Jewish community. And I share this trip and some of the things the teens experienced and said with all of you this evening, this Shabbat, because sometimes seeing something through another's eyes, particularly through the next generation's eyes, and hearing their experiences can help us to reinvigorate, renew, and or further develop our own connections, our passions, and inspirations. And it can lead to an even more powerful and potent existence for all of us. Watching these teens learn about and experience Israel and Judaism, seeing it through their eyes for almost 2 weeks, has certainly given me this inspiration and this hope for the future of both Israel and the Jewish people. Indeed, Am Yisrael Chai, the people and the state of Israel live. And I look forward to seeing how these teens, and really all of us, can contribute to that future in the years ahead. So Shabbat Shalom. One of the things I mentioned in the sermon that was so special was getting to spend Shabbat in Israel. Shabbat is one of those things that in Israel you can feel it whether you are making it happen or not, which is its own special opportunity. And yet what I love about being Jewish here in the United States is that in order for us to really feel that Shabbat, it takes work. It takes us actually having to make Shabbat. And one of the ways we do that is celebrating services like we all are today and actively welcoming in the Sabbath bride, which we'll do on page 138 with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi li krakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lecha Dodi li krakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmiyanu el ha-meyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'litila Lechadodi likrakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likraka yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor haberacha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila Lechadodi likrakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likrakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam besimcha uvesohola Toch emuneh am segula Boi chala Lechadodi likrakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela Lechadodi likrakala yalalai 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. We turn now to page 146 for our call to worship the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. On page 148, we join together in reading the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim b'chochma poteach sharim uvidvuna mishanei itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim v'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla. Adonai tzevaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 151, we read responsively in the middle of the page. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kev malchuto leolam vaed. Please be seated. And we join together in chanting the Ve'ahavta on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Amen. One of the things I love to say to our B'nai Mitzvah students is that when you're up leading services, it's not a performance. It's not meant to be perfect, but it's something that is meant to be honest and truthful and from the heart. And so that's why when we come together, we're not looking for perfection, but looking for moments of meaning. And so we turn to page 157, and we read together at the top of the page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Marching together and singing together as we turn to page 158 for Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot ose fele malchutecha ra'uvanecha Bokei Yam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam Ze'eli Anu ve'amru Adonai Loch Le'olam va'ed Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot ose fele ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov ugo lo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. On page 161 at the top of the page, we read this reading, this interpretation of Hashkivenu that asks for peace and protection in so many ways. We join together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapares sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. On page 162, we sing another celebratory song of Shabbat that I'm sure you all are familiar with. So please do be sure to join in. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lazot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berid olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Lazot et ha-Shabbat Ledorotam berid olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim Asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vaynafash, shavat vaynafash, shavat vaynafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. On page 164, I invite you to rise. And on the opposite page, one of my favorite quick readings. Pray as if everything depended on God. Act as if everything depended on you. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav L'Hoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim v'rofeh cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha bal gevurot, umido melech, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'nemanata lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol. 170. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yhalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. On page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. On page 177, we join together at the top of the page. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lehodot. On page 178, I'm excited to sing this version of Shalom Rav. It's one of my favorite melodies out there, and although I'm doing my best, it'll be beautiful and wonderful, hopefully in spirit, and I know that we've done it before here at United Hebrew, so again, please do join with me. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki hatahu melech Adon Lechol hashalom, ki atahu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam, Tasim leolam, Tasim leolam. And truly we wish for peace and protection for us, for Israel, and for all the world. In this moment where we are, the central section of our service, known as the tefillah, the prayer, we also take some time to think a little more personally. First, we turn our attention to those in our lives, in our world, who could use our prayers of healing and of health. And so as we turn to page 371 for our Misha Berach, if you're thinking of a loved one who could use a prayer of healing, I invite you to please rise in this moment. And we share their names as one community. And so we join our prayers together in this prayer for healing and health. Misha Berach, page 371. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We truly wish those in need of healing a refuah shlema, a return to wholeness and health. And in this moment, we now turn our thoughts inwards, the prayers of our own heart, as I invite you to please pray silently. Iyu leratzon imrefi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai Suri V'goali, v'goali. Yehiyu l'ratzon imrefi v'hegyon libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri Adonai Suri V'goali V'goali.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of you, as well as those who are joining us online. My name is Cheryl Bauer, and I'm president of United Hebrew Congregation. Tomorrow here at UH, we'll start the day with Torah study at 9 a.m. It'll be in the chapel or on Zoom. Following that, we'll have our Shabbat morning service, which will be here in the Millstone Sanctuary, as well as on live stream. For upcoming events, we will be sponsoring an American Red Cross blood drive on Tuesday, August 1st from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock here at UH. And then the weekend of August 18th through 20th, we'll welcome Noam Katz here, and there'll be all kinds of activities throughout the weekend. He'll be here for our Volunteer Recognition Shabbat, which will be that Friday night, August 18th. And then on Saturday, there'll be a Torah study with Noam Katz, as well as a question and answer session. And then on Sunday, August 20th, will be a teacher in service with Religious and Hebrew School staff. And that will, again, be with Noam Katz. Then I'd like to let you know that the next Intro to Judaism course will be on Tuesdays at Temple Israel, starting August 22nd and running through December 19th from 7 to 9 p.m., and those will be held at Temple Israel. If that's of interest to you, then you can either contact Temple Israel directly or Esther Olson here in our office. I know people who took the Intro to Judaism class this last spring and talked about it being phenomenal, so interesting. So I encourage you to look into that. On August 26th, Saturday evening, August 26th at 6:30, we'll have our Camp UH. You've heard a lot about that. It's our opportunity to go back to camp, just like our children have done, or just like we did when we were kids. The sign-up is going on now, $75 a person, and that includes an open bar, a dinner buffet, and different activities, color wars, games, bingo, photo booths, s'mores, all kinds of fun. So it's our night to go back to camp. So I hope you'll join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. For additional information about upcoming classes and programs, you can access our UH website. I also want to give a shout out to our tech team who do such a great job of keeping us connected, and thank you so much for what you all do for us. The gift shop hours, you can contact Iris or contact the office about summer hours for the gift shop. It's also on our website. Shabbat Shalom.
And tonight in particular, I will extend a extra thank you to David Cohen for helping bring the music and song. I really could not be doing this without you. And thank you for adjusting to my keys, even if I don't always hit it at first. Thank you, and thank you all of you for being here for Shabbat. It's, again, truly wonderful. And so as we move towards the end of our service, we turn to page 586 and rise for the Aleinu. And as I like to remind us, the Aleinu is meant to make us remember that what we do here doesn't stay here in the sanctuary, but we're supposed to take it with us into the rest of Shabbat and the rest of our week. Page 586. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol v'tekiru le'yotzer breishit shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chalkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Page 591. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihyeh Adonai echad ushemo echad. Please be seated. On page 594. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and to lose, a thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched. This Shabbat, as we remember those in our community who have died, we have the sacred duty and honor, together with the family of Stephen Tachman, to dedicate and inscribe his name on the Rabbi Samuel L. Thurman Memorial Wall. Each year, as we come to Stephen's yahrzeit, we will lovingly remember him here at United Hebrew. And so, in addition to the yahrzeit of Stephen Tachman, we remember those in our community. Our heartfelt condolences go out to the family of Marjorie Llewellyn, who died just within this last week. We also remember those who are still in the first month of mourning, the period of Shloshim, as we remember IDF Sergeant Shiloh Yosef Amir, Ronald Boucher, Terry Crocker, Sarah Lee Fitter, Hendrik Hank Gierloff, Dr. Marvin Irwin Koenig, Jeanette Rand, Jerome Jerry Ronald Selson, Dr. Nathan Simon, and Thomas H. Watley. We add to these names those who have died at this time in seasons past, as we remember the yahrzeit of Marilyn Mickey Ach, Sophie B. Aronoff, Betty Baden, Rose H. Barron, Mary Bender, Frida Gardner Bialik, Sylvia L. Bierman, Melvin Block, Shirley Chakis, Rose I. Cherick, Bertha P. Copeland, Nathan M. Furman, Richard Keith Fox, Della Glass, Marjorie H. Glicker, Alfred Goldman, Melva R. Goldstein, Sarah G. Goldstein, Bernice Goodman, Rose Greenspun, Harry Hockman, Bertha Hoffman, Louis Horowitz, Dr. Barry L. Jasper, Louis Kaiser, Regina Klein, Alfred Kraus, Samuel Harold Krell, Edna Lander, Jean Z. Levy, Benjamin Levi, Matthew S. Levy, Arthur Loomstein, Milton M. Moss, Florine Sherman Myers, Mildred Rain Plax, Harry Pozlowski, Ben Rabin, Erwin Radloff, Ethel Rudolph Rothman, Walter M. Salzman, Robert Schlesinger, Charles R. Schwartz, Bess Sirks, Susan Shapiro, Sherman Sklar, Conrad Schauer, Paul Seigan, Francis Silverman, John Simon, Florence Kessler Steinbach, Tilly A. Stone, William Terrell, Melvin J. Tyner, Sally C. Waldman, Jerry Wolkowitz, Ethel Zeman, and Goldie Zeiser. If one of these loved ones is yours, we invite you to rise so that we may recognize the memory of your loved one. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. And now I invite everyone to rise and stand with our mourners as one community, one family of humanity, for our Kaddish Yatom, our Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yurteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayeh d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach le'olam u'lomei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn, to which we say, Amen. This evening, as I started by sharing some of my experience in Israel and just how wonderful it was to see the Jewish state through the next generation, I want to end with the song again that I'm pretty sure you all know on page 642 that just says how wonderful it is that we're here, that the people of Israel are here, that the state of Israel is here, and how wonderful it can be when we look to the future. And so we sing Am Yisrael Chai on page 642. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Hey, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu Chai, hey, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.